Hi everyone. This evening I'm going to jump to the 14th presentation. I'll finish Hill House another time because I was looking at encountering the National Guards in the streets of Washington, and it did not please me at all. So I was going to I saw so I'm gonna jump to that. Trump deploys the National Guard in DC, and I'm gonna relook at RFK Jr.'s campaign, his 2024 campaign. Because there's still some pending questions there that I want answers to. And, he's like, he wanted unending wars. Why did he drop the ball? Was it intentional? I mean, I keep on going through my head, like, what are you people doing? I know you're crazy. But even the crazy people, there's always method to the madness. You just have to figure it out. Believe me. Oh Lord, if my mother taught me anything, it's if you follow the dots, you will find the method to the madness. But Bobby Kennedy, I mean, like as they say in Spanish, ¿está tomando el pelo de la gente? Okay. I mean, are you stupid or what's going on with you guys? Okay, so, and, I mean, from when Trump launched his campaign in 2015, I was like, are you people kidding me? He's Wall Street. He's, frat boy, New York, Wall Street. I mean, he's nouveau riche, New York. Uh, to the robber barons. They've all left town, and he was left whole in the bag. But he's like part of the problem. How can you possibly think that he would ever be a solution? And and but he knows how to make lots of money. Ask anybody in Washington. He's a bankruptcy building guy. He doesn't pay his bills. He's lots of hot air. I mean, you probably would never meet anybody who is more anti-Trump, but not just because of his personality or I find him arrogant, but that's par for the course, my lord. Um, so it has nothing to do with anything that I might think of him personally. It's just no way. However, after having said all of that and being, very, very vocal against him, he, took the initiative, and I was actually just listening to an interview about Bolton, Bolton being arrested. I still trying to figure out what that's all about. But John Bolton being arrested and coming out that, well, his see in his first administration, let's just say he didn't make his he didn't know what he was walking into exactly. And this time he was like, no, I'm taking charge this time. And he did, and he has. And he did take charge, and he did a lot of things that have needed to be done. Even in his first administration, he was given credit for finally doing some stuff that had been promised for a long time. But this time he really, has stepped up to the plate. Now, what's really, really concerning is, you know, he's like the all the nonprofit got to get tough on the IMF, the World Bank, get a hold of the economic situation in this country. This is what brings me to this. See, this is to deviate attention away from the economic crisis. I was listening earlier to an interview. Gosh, I forget the name of the guy, but it was with Tucker Carlson. And gosh, I wish I'd marked that down. I'll put it in the bottom of this. But he was talking, oh my goodness, about the gold, the federal, the at Fort Knox, just the the gold reserves. Yeah, it's a real mess. So anyway, uh, this is not, this is, there is a solution. Oh, I think I maybe put him in this one. Yeah, here it is Fort Knox line. Here's the video. Definitely to look, these two, there is a solution. It's going to be very unpleasant for a lot of people, but needs to be done. So, it cracks me up. So now we got the National Guard in the streets. And I even told the kids, these poor kids, they actually were cracking up because I stopped them at DuPont Circle. I was like, oh, okay, where are you guys hanging out? And as Megan Kelly said, thank God not in Southeast where the real violence is, because you don't want to with the gangs. So no, this is where the tourists hang out, and Northwest and up and down Pennsylvania Avenue and up on Capitol Hill. So not this is not where you have your crime in the streets. I mean, my Lord, I lived in this city for longer than any place else in the world, and never, yeah, granted, when I was in my 20s and coming home from work at restaurants and stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning after we close up, I ride my bike real fast and I wouldn't stop. And that certainly, but even though this was the murder capital of the United States when I lived here in the 80s, I mean, still Northwest, where he's got the National Guard, it's not dangerous. It's full of bullshit. Um, so anyway, I told these kids at DuPont Circle, I said, you know what you need to do is you need to go up Connecticut Avenue, you take a left into Calorama, where you got Jeff Bezos, we got David Malpass right in front of the French embassy. You can pass by and tell them to come on over as well. We got to get all of those diplomats in there. Oh, let me, I gotta, I'm like Santa Claus with a list of people that you guys got to stop. I was like, come on, what are you people doing here? This really is because another thing, I was like, wait a second. So here's the headline. U.S. Attorney Ed Martin Jr. credits President Trump's first 100 days with 25% drop in D.C. violent crime. That was in April. Um, so if we had this dramatic drop, now Trump's saying that, crime is out of control in this city. Um, it's like, come on, you guys, this is like a yo-yo. You can't keep up. Where are they going? Um, so I'm like, come on, you people. No, okay, definitely DC does have a crime problem. I'm not gonna say that it doesn't. Um, but as I keep on, pointing out, if we would just get an economy that was for the people, stop pissing everybody off, and get rid of all of these white collar criminals in this city, then the corruption and the criminality wouldn't trickle down, and you'd be setting an example for these kids. We'd get the education systems, so you're not getting a bunch of illiterate kids who have no worth ethic, no skills, not the proper jobs for them, because we'll see in DC. um oh, I have it, that's in the email. Did a whole email. Janine Pirro, the Attorney General, when Ed Martin came in, he got an email from me. Then when he got ousted and they put Janine Pirro, I said, okay, yeah, here, I got a list. Okay, and I built the case. We do the IMF Family Association, and IMF, that was Institute for Capacity Development, Sharmini Curry. Now that is Larry Summers in there. uh, Sharmini Curry is one of his little groupies from Harvard. And this is going to end because it goes to the HR department. Oh, I made sure everybody got letters there. So you got the HR department, Mark Plant, and Kalpana Kochar, who's over at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation now. See, you set as I say, I set that thing up so there would be no wiggle room for anybody. And ludicrous. I mean, I was sitting there in the meetings with these ladies because they're Sharmini Curry. Okay, I didn't meet with Kalpana Kochar, but I did with Olivia Graham and Gita Ravindra. Hmm. Um, so this would send a very, very strong message that all of this backstabbing, witchery, and party politicking, and minorities getting. I I even got it on tape with Pierce Morgan's one of his interview. I forget what the name of the woman is, saying, "I'm black," white. What is it? You can't have racism against white. You can't discriminate against whites or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, thank you." I clipped it. I, and said, "No, excuse me, this is against the law." I kept on telling everybody at the IMF, "You people, what you are doing is illegal, completely illegal." I don't care. I don't care. I still a snot-nosed brat I work with. I don't care. I was born here. Nobody can do anything to me. She's Latina. Um, I'm like, yeah, well, you either can leave and go back to what would be your parents' country then, or you go to prison because what you're doing is against law. So stop with this bullshit of, no, I'm entitled, I'm untouchable because I'm a foreigner. So yeah. Anyway, so go to it, but don't go after the IMF. I mean, you cannot even imagine the message that would send, because a lot of people know me at the IMF and the World Bank, because after they ousted me in 2005, I made sure I was working in restaurants um, in that area. So everybody's been seeing me, and I'm like, okay, little ladies, you do not want to invite me to your mansions in Northwest. So I'll have my little elevator speech in the receptions and dinner parties. You don't want me working in your offices because you want to shut me up. Well, I'll go and work in the restaurants where all you guys come, and then I'll give you my elevator speech there. You're not going to be able to say, "Oh, I didn't know," when everything comes to head, because it's got to. I mean, it's one of those things that, unless history is going to change itself, we're going to end up with something else, which I don't think so. And unfortunately, we are headed towards a Third Reich. I mean, when I read the book, The Rise of the Third Reich by Jim Mars during the lockdown, or I guess it was before the lockdown. I did a book review during the lockdown. I was like, oh God, yeah, of course. And then you have the paperclip. I mean, come on, you guys, connect the dots. This is not conspiracy theory. This is common sense. So anyway, get tough on them. And oh, and I've got all of the restaurants where I've worked as well. I have lawsuits against all the employers, many of the managers, many of my coworkers, where I've lived, landlords. Oh, Lordy Lord. One of the first ones. She's over at the World Bank. Aroa. I mean, since I have been back, every time I turn around, this is going on 18 years. Somebody's doing something illegal, immoral, or illegal. Olivia Graham at the IMF, the ethics advisor, she said, I mean, this one was precious. She said, well, it's illegal, but not immoral. So I've been hearing justifications of it's immoral, but not illegal all my life. But that's the first time I've ever heard it's illegal, but not immoral. I couldn't understand it until she was black. So this is just payback to the whites. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's where you root of what's creating the friction and the racial tension. So this is not coming from the whites. This is coming from the minorities attacking the whites, saying, "Oh, we're here to take over." Well, no, we'll get into this. This is a white country. England was like 100% white after the war. We we had the African Americans who were about actually 9%. It changed a little bit. It went up, but I think that's also maybe how people were identifying. But anyway, um, because you have the mixed races before you wanted to be as white as possible. Now my favorite is Juan Williams' wife, Delise. That is the whitest black woman in all of Washington. I mean, I when I read that and she was black, I was like, "Are you kidding me? You're as white as I am." So, see, this is also like in the later. It was nine. It was like 9% at the turn of the 20th century, and then it went up to 12%. But I'm like, well, that also would you'd have to look at how people were self-reporting. So I mean, here, this I won't play this whole thing because I'm sure many people have listened to it on the news, but there it is. I mean, Trump, he just goes on and on and on. If he was a 4-year-old, I would really be laughing. I mean, and he is just so trying to convince himself that he's right. Yeah, so what they're trying to detract everyone's attention away from is the economic situation. I mean, even the whole Epstein stuff, trying to get everyone's attention away from that. It's not it's not about the sugar babies. And it never was. And that, the whole thing from the beginning, I was like, are you people kidding me? This Me Too bullshit, they're just trying to take you down. This is party politicking. And Andrew Cuomo, I mean, the whole thing. It was like, are you kidding? In New York, that is just a cesspool of the feminists, the Me Too. It's completely political, and it was, and that's why I was like, get rid of this shit. It should have been thrown out of court from the beginning. So the issue is Epstein. In fact, it was really interesting. What video was I listening to? I think it was last night or the night before. Um, that Epstein had had made a big sale of one of the financial holdings that he had, and which might have precipitated the collapse, the 2008 collapse. I think Michael Burry, who was the trader that's in The Big Short, yeah, The Big Short, would probably be able to shed some more light on that one and whether that position really had an effect, or you know did Epstein just read the markets well. What went on there? Was that to collapse the markets? Was that intentional? Did Epstein read it right? But it was an interesting question to ask, and an interesting little tidbit. So anyway, it's all about the economy, and Trump is getting nervous because they've been throwing good money after bad and trying to macroeconomic their way into oblivion, do the impossible, keep it up, 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 without ever popping. Um, and they know that that's just not possible. And they just hope they doesn't explode on their watch. So anyway, that's the issue. But see, this is the thing. So was 2006 debt held by the public was at 5 trillion. That's not great news. Where we are today, and it was below 10 trillion in total if you did the intra-government holdings. Now we've just topped the 37 trillion mark. And this is also what got a lot of people turned against Trump was, excuse me, we're getting farther into debt. We got to go down. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm really pissed off. One of the things, let's go after the nonprofits. You did the congressional hearing. You're right on target. Now let's go for it. I got the names. I mean, oh, Lordy Lord, that is as much a Pandora's box as the IMF, and it's related because that's where all of these people at the IMF and the World Bank and academia and even federal government agencies, they retire in all of these think tanks. And the lobbyists drain the swamp. National Guards takes to the street in order to drain the swamp. I mean, like, come on, you guys. People really are not that stupid. Lots of them are, but not everybody. People are waking up. So this is, don't be fooled. This is the whole smoke and mirrors of the National Guard coming to Washington. See, Washingtonians are pissed off. They're like, go home in protest because they don't want anybody raining on their little parade of continual injection of money. Because look, here, this is 2000. The GDP for the 5 million people who lived in DC, this is the DC area, metro area, which is the Virginia, Maryland suburbs, and that does usually include Baltimore. I'm not, because that's West Virginia. I'm not sure Baltimore is included in these, which if it isn't, it would be even more than this. But I do believe Baltimore is in there. So anyway, in 2000, the GDP was 263 billion for 5 million people. To 2023, we're at 715 billion. for 6.3 million people. Um, so, like Washington was created in order to serve the American people. It was not. The success of Washington should not be measured in GDP in any way, shape, or form. We don't give a shit what the GDP is here. That's not a measure of success by any means. In fact, we could even say the inverse. It's, it means we're not being successful because we need to get it down. And we can even there are a lot of economists who are speaking out, here, see the stupidity of GDP per capita. This is I keep on this video and I keep on this slide in all of them because there are some important things. Oh, I think I need to add something here. There are important videos to watch, and these, as I say, it's all about economics, stupid. And the problem with Reaganomics, I mean, I say this till I'm green in the face. The problem with Reaganomics and the trickle down was that you had Ethel Kennedy, Nancy Reagan, and their daughters and all of these prima donnas and entitled little snot-nosed brats, to be polite. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. We're not with a narcissism epidemic and cocaine epidemic anymore. We're with a psychopath epidemic and a heroin and opioid epidemic and just craziness, absolute craziness in this city that needs, it needs to be drained. But it's not the National Guard hitting the streets. Janine Pirro, I mean, she's pissing me off. She's really pissing me off because she's like, yeah, we're not going to let these thugs get away with this anymore. This is ridiculous. These kids coming in here and getting a slap in the hand and being, and they let off and go and do their crap all over again. Are you talking about the head of the Fed? You're talking about the head of the IMF or the World Bank? You're talking about the congressional members? I mean, the kids who are in Columbia Heights, Petworth, U Street, that is the least of the problems of this city and this country. And if you would take care, get the shit together up on Capitol Hill, and all of DC would get its shit together, we wouldn't have these problems here. Get some good schools, get a good economy, instead of, the restaurant business, entertainment business, it is obscene, absolutely obscene. When I got here in 2009 and I saw that they were building a casino, I mean, I literally, I couldn't believe my ears because my brother walking into where the National Harbor, they were building the outlets. This is right after the collapse. And all of these restaurants, the casino, the convention center. I don't forget how many hundreds of millions that cost. I mean, nobody has stopped. It's keep on spending, and it has nothing to do with making the government better or more effective. Oh, no. Spending, let's get more tourists, more parties, more nonprofits, convention, places where we can do events and conferences and waste lots and lots and lots and lots of money. I mean, nothing that has been, since I have been back in 2009, Nothing has been created in this city to make the government better or more efficient. To the contrary, it really it's more than obscene. Um, so again, see, this is when I saw these statistics, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This was, I found, because you cannot find for the federal government, you find all sorts of statistics on race. But for the local DC government, nothing. This was the only report that I could find. It was the DC Courts Demographics 1990 to 2020. And as you can see African Americans total employee workforce, African Americans 69%. Okay. And females 65%. This one, okay, so this I think was the employee workforce. Was that total? And then this is the total judicial workforce. So there it did in terms of, let's see, that was majority white of 55%, but let's see, females 68%. And you did, let's see, you had Asian 9% there. Here it was 1%. The Hispano Latinos 10% there. 9% there. So in terms of judges, you did have just a little bit more than half were whites. But in terms of total employee workforce within the DC court system, it is 70% Black. Now, is that representative of the United States? I mean, one might argue that it's representative of Washington, because Washington since 58, because of all of the whites who left. But they all live in the suburbs. So you count that, but then they work here. So that also does come under DC courts, because all of the businesses. So there, if you really want to get, but obviously, this is not, these people are not being discriminated against. Why should they be getting favoritism? So, this whole thing needs to be, the whole thing, oh, us poor discriminated people, we need opportunities, we need opportunities. They need to turn off that little record. And here, let's see, we also had the comparison. This is real small. Come on, bring me up. Oops, that brought me up too much. So, yeah, so the extent to which employees believe they are subjected to flagrant or obvious discriminatory practices, the African Americans, they believe that they're discriminated against 55%. Yet they're given favoritism. So, and here it has the civilian labor force against the federal professional workforce. Anyway, these are in the slides. They're kind of small to see here. But yeah, okay, you do have a majority white, but again, this is a white country, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant country. So we can also look at, well, how many are Catholics? How many are Jews? How many are Muslims? Those are other, those are demographics that are not being included here. So you have the professional, but so yeah, the federal, in almost all of the categories at the federal level, there there are more minorities than in the civilian labor market. The professional, administrative, you have the technical and the clerical there. And so, for example, the clerical, the federal over here, huge compared to almost twice, yeah, more than twice, um, within the civilian labor markets. So, that also, we start looking at the breakdowns there. It's like, wait a second, you people. So at the professional level, that's where you have the smallest difference, and which one could argue, oh, well, they're getting the higher paid jobs, or the higher level jobs, perhaps. But still, you are still having at the federal level, you have favoritism in the minorities. Yet they keep on saying, oh no, we're discriminated against, we're discriminated against. See, the Asian Pacific, um, yeah, they don't claim discrimination quite so much as the African Americans. Um, and in Washington, I'm sorry, it was kind of like in Miami, we were doing an affirmative action, and I had to look for a secretary for the office that I was working with. And we had everybody who came in was African American. And they were like, what's going on? And I said, you guys, Latinos are not minority in this city, and Asians, they don't. We went through an employment agency. I said, they're not sending me any Asians because there really are none. So we're getting, and one of the guys said, you're not going to give me an African American. I was like, take what you get. Um, so anyway, this whole thing, as I said, here we have, it's easier for me to pull this up. Um, in the United States in the 1920s, it was 89, or almost 90% black, white, and almost 10% black by, and that starts to change. You know, it's difficult because here maybe not everybody is filling out forms or really declaring themselves. I think in the 1980s is when people are starting to see, well, yeah, it's to my advantage to put on there that I'm a minority. So they're starting to include that more. And I guess also mandates. They had to. So anyway, by the 1980s, we're at 80% white, and by the 2020, it's at 71%. Well, this whole replacement theory, well, yeah, it is. I mean, this was my whole letter to Janine Pito. I was like, yeah, replacement theory is happening, and you know you have to just stop saying, well, this is in your imagination, this is in your head, because yes, it is happening. And stop saying, oh, we're going to favor all of these minorities. They are still minorities. I mean, this is just elitism flipped over on its head. And of course, it's going to piss people off, particularly in a country that for hundreds of years, Americans, I mean, we haven't stopped with wars since the American Revolution, and they've all been fighting for democracy. So for over 200 years, they've been fighting for this democracy that you guys want to flip on the head and just be an elitist country with no democratic procedure. So of course, this is going to create tension and get people all pissed off, and start fighting amongst themselves. And What are they fighting for? As usual, allocation of resources, jobs. They want to eat, they want a house. If you gave them all of that free, um, yeah, a lot of them would be like, okay, I'm good, I'm good. You don't have to give me a job as long as you give me my house and a food and everything else that I need. I'm good. Yeah, it's not going to last very long like that because somebody's going to have to pay for it all. So this whole thing about discrimination, that has got to stop. There are some serious, serious, serious problems in Washington. It is not out on the streets with which bunch of National Guard kids, walking through Northwest are going to solve. It is within the government agencies. And Trump, he won the 2016 election on that, and he won the 2024 election on that. And it has to be done. Otherwise, we will end up in another civil war. And it's not going to just be bloodshed here on the streets of Washington. It will be everywhere. We're seeing the exact same problems of law and order, of mismanagement, gross mismanagement at local levels and state levels across the country. And that is what the federal government is supposed to be making sure, that all of the state and local governments are doing their jobs and assisting them with funding. I mean, don't want to get totally rid of the federal government. However, it does need to be downsized, and the states need to start taking and assuming more, responsibility and control of what's going on in their states and what's going on in their cities. And the cities need to stop wasting all of the money and taking all of the resources and giving a big FU to the rural areas and pissing everybody off. I mean, this country is just, I mean, either people buckle down and get to work, or let's say give up and leave, or just get as drunk as possible or do some drugs, whatever, and just wait until you know the whole thing just explodes. Because this is not going to end well. So anyway, here again, the elections. So let's go back to Bobby Kennedy. And because this is what I keep on, I'm like, what the frick, you people? You know, why did Bobby Kennedy's campaign drop the ball like it did? I mean, he had that in the bag. And I mean, okay, his siblings, here, particularly, I mean, his sister and his cousin Caroline, they were at the lead. I mean, of course, it was all sorts of people in the family, but it was particularly Caroline and Carrie who were at the lead of just trashing Bobby. And Ethel was still around. I mean, Ethel was okay. She was, kind of retired, if you will, from the RFK human rights, and it's getting old. But it's just incredible, incredible. They said, Ethel was more Kennedy than the Kennedys when they were campaigning for JFK and RFK. I mean, if it hadn't been for the family campaigning and all the money, that was the first election where so much money was thrown into the election process, and we've been paying ever since. And it just gets more and more and more and more money. Joe Kennedy said he was going to buy the White House for for his son, and he did. And that's what everybody ever since. It's like, okay, I'll just buy the White House or I'll buy a congressional seat, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. Um, Bobby could have won. I mean, what? So my question here in this deep state is, so what's the end game? Where's the agenda of everybody? What's the end game? Um, because it doesn't. Here's Randy Hines. He's in Las Vegas. He was what was it called? The Kennedy, I think it was the Kennedy Beacon, because they had the Kennedy Coalition. I guess his was the Kennedy Coalition. And he had a website, and I did some blogs for that. I mean, freaking hell. I write these blogs for Bobby's campaign. I applied for jobs, never even got an interview. Oh, and the best, I didn't even include that in here. Ah, I'm gonna have to look into that. Hold on. Because that I had wanted to play. I couldn't believe it. Here. Uh, but Tim Mellon, you know, this is Tony Lyons, who is of the publisher. So anyway, these are the people in the propaganda model, the deep state. What are you people doing? I mean, like, okay, Bobby Kennedy, he had it in the bag. His campaign was pretty much everything that JFK was about, RFK was about, and why they got assassinated. So, kind of ask you the motives of Caroline and Carrie in trying to assassinate their brother and get rid of his campaign. See, this is where you get into the ideologies, because Carrie and Caroline, just like Jackie and Ethel and all of the other Kennedy ladies, I mean, they are elitist and narcissists. These are not, you know, champions of the working class or any of that crap. No, these women are elitist women. So as long as, you know, those are their wives and those are the women in their entourages, this is never going to be a liberal or a democratic or a working class um, group of people. It's not going to happen. I mean, I realized the day that I said to my mother, I said, Karl Marx, he wasn't evil. And I tried to get into, like, he was just saying what was going to happen with this unequal system. And I mean, I couldn't even get that far. And she was, yes, he was. It's just like, oh my gosh. I mean, he was as bad as Madonna and Jane Fonda. Uh, so and I realized, oh, it's just because all of these women want to go shopping and they just want, this material wealth, and the narcissism epidemic. The book, Twang and Campbell, they say that the reason that the Soviet Union fell was because all of the wives had watched Dallas and wanted mansions like the Ewing wives, and that's what brought down communism. And it's true. Um, so until the Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy or any of the Democrats realize that, and as long as they have elitist and backstabbing bitchy wives, they'll never be successful. Not even wives, just women in their entourages. Because I mean, Bobby Kennedy, what? See, Marvelous Fox, If she's not a CIA operative, she's an asset. I think she's an operative. I don't know if there's a fine line anymore, if they even distinguish between it. But she is CIA all the way. I mean, this was another thing, getting into conspiracy theories. I mean, okay, did she marry Bobby Kennedy's son to get a meal ticket Kennedy husband? Or was it to control Bobby Kennedy because maybe Bobby Kennedy was going to get into the White House and then she would control that? So those are possibilities. But that this is some love story between her and Bobby Kennedy's son, I don't believe so. And oh my Lord, they made it one of those like, kumbaya things. When I saw that, I was like, oh God, this smells of a witch's brew to me. Um, so yeah, so that was something that I was like, oh God, how, this is going to be the campaign manager. So that wasn't a good thing. Then when I saw this Nicole Shanahan, okay, a gold digger who married Bren, the Google founder guy. And apparently that marriage ended because she did some wicked ass drugs with Elon Musk and disappeared for a couple hours with Elon Musk to hook up with him. And of course, Sergey Brin, he got pissed off, but she still got $1 billion in the divorce. I was like, excuse me, what did you do to get worth $1 billion? I mean, one of my big things that I'm fighting for is, that women's work within the home and family is recognized, and this is not some payoff for producing children or lying on your back. I mean, that might have been started with Jackie Kennedy, first with JFK, and then with Aristotle Onassis. But I mean, when I heard about that, I was like, excuse me, you guys want to talk about prostitution? Let's talk about prostitution. So that's been going on for a long time, and that's why the whole hypocrisy of the stuff that was done to Ghislaine Maxwell and that whole holier than thou bullshit is incredible. So the Amaryllis Fox, I was like, oh God, what the frick is she doing in there? Okay, but so when I saw Bobby Kennedy, he had launched his campaign. Then there was Tony Lyons. Tony Lyons, he is the head of Sky Horse Publishing in New York. Now, Sky Horse Publishing was like, fastest growing publishing house in New York, and he would uh, publish books that nobody else would touch. So I was like, okay, well, that sounds like a good thing for me. My mommy wars. I'm trying to find a publisher for my book, The Mommy Wars Between the Feminists, the Anti-Feminists, and the Socialites. And we are still writing the book because I'm still in my mommy wars. Like Shanahan, oh lordy lord. Okay, so I'll play that afterwards. But so we've got Tony Lyons. I contact Tony Lyons. He doesn't want to have anything to do with me. I'm like, this book would be great, particularly when it came out that Kerry Kennedy and the women in Bobby Kennedy's family were spitting on him. I was like, oh gosh, this is going to just blow those ladies away into oblivion, and he'll have no problem. This will be a slam dunker for Bobby. And I'll write it and I'll position it really vote for Bobby. So I couldn't understand why I'm not even getting the courtesy of a response. I even sent it over to Curtis Brown Publishing, which was started by the husband of the woman who started the Federation of American Women's Clubs overseas, Carolyn Curtis Brown. And that's my whole Global Expats project, is to replace the Federation of American Women's Clubs overseas because it's filled with a bunch of backstabbing bitches. And that was started in 1931 by Caroline, with the idea that enlightened women around the world could do much to promote world peace. I'm like, yeah, the operative word there is enlightened. It was also to defend the rights of women, American women abroad, whose rights were not being respected. I was like, yeah, well, I've been on that, uh, thing for 20 years. And these girls, the little ladies over at FACO, they're too busy partying with the UN and the World Bank. So, it's like, okay. See, that's another publisher that we'll get into. But I contacted them. I said, oh my God, come on, you guys. London's burning as much as Washington's burning. So you might want to get on it. But no, everybody just ignored me. So Tony Lyons, he was the head of American Value 2024 PAC. And that got was the fundraiser basically for Bobby Kennedy. So, it's like, why is Skyhorse not interested? Why am I, being ignored? And so he's buddy, because then I saw through American Values that Tim Mellon had given 75 million to Trump and 25 million to Bobby Kennedy's campaign. So I was like, oh Lord. Well, Tim Mellon, his sister is a graduate of Foxcroft, as is his stepmother, Bunny Mellon. And I'm like, Foxcroft won't let me speak at the Courageous Conversation, which is included in my book that I want Skyhorse Publishing to publish, will expose the backstabbing witchery that's going on in Foxcroft and the woke elements that have taken it over, because the Robin Baron heiresses like Bunny Mellon was too busy having tea with Queen Elizabeth during the 50s and 60s. And her daughter, Catherine, married John Warner. John Warner was a GI. I mean, he had been in World War II. This was, that was another thing. World War II was very, very, very successful as a social climbing tool for a lot of people. And that also is what caused the boom economy afterwards. And also we were helping to rebuild the world that had almost destroyed itself. So of course, lots of money coming in. Well, that was not sustainable. So anyway, she's an alumni of Foxcroft. She's still around. Okay, they're divorced because then he married Elizabeth Taylor. John Warner the Fourth, he's all into cars and UFOs. So I'm like, come down from Earth to Earth, and maybe, look at the damage that your father was involved in Washington. See, they're all connected. I'm like, what the frick are you people doing? No wonder all of your children have autism, because Nicole Shanahan's only daughter is autistic. Tony Lyons' daughter, this is Findelina, she's autistic. Bobby Kennedy's is promising to get rid of autism. I'm like, excuse me, Bobby. I'm not going to say it's not, that there's not all of these chemicals and unhealthy diets that are being produced that is not having an effect. and behind part of the autism epidemic that we're facing. But no, it's much more the feminist and this this paradigm that your mother and your sister and your cousins want to promote, and they want to shut me up. This destroy or be destroyed. I mean, Bobby Kennedy even speaks about that in an article in People magazine. He said, my mother, she saw everybody friend or foe, friend or foe, and the treatment of her staff and her children were at odds with her rhetoric, her human rights rhetoric and activism work. Of course it was. And Carrie, his sister, is the same backstabbing witch as her mother was, as all of the Kennedy women are. And so, you know, this is, as long as you have your mothers who are these entitled narcissists at best and backstabbing psychopaths at worst, of course your children are going to be withdrawn and have, you know, development problems. I don't need to look any further. I'm not saying that there are not serious problems about all the crap that they're putting in the water, in our food, everywhere. But particularly health, if you're a director of health and human services and you want to be successful, you know, we need a huge, first off, get rid of Cornelia Guest and her vegan living. And, you know, I'd rather go naked and animal rights bullshit and say, excuse me, children in this country need to have rights. Children in this country need to be given proper food and be treated properly and not be beaten and you know, be taken care of and loved and nurtured instead of just your freaking animals. So, you know, this whole thing about autism, autism again, deviate attention away from the real issues. So this I do here. We'll go into the gaslighting because this is...
Hey Psych2Goers, welcome back. Have you ever heard the term gaslighting before and wondered what it means? Simply put, it is abuse and a form of manipulation and psychological control. Victims are fed lies and false information under the guise of truth, which makes them question their sanity and beliefs. Over time, the manipulations become so complex that the victim can no longer identify what's real. Here are some common phrases an abusive person might use to control you. Number 1, you are so sensitive. If you hear this one, calmly disengage from the conversation and acknowledge that you are not too sensitive. An abusive person resorts to this line to make themselves not accountable for their actions. Additionally, this statement minimizes your feelings by making you think that your feelings are inappropriate or wrong, so you end up feeling guilty. Number 2, I was just joking. You have probably heard this phrase, especially when someone says something deliberately cruel. This is the classic backpedaling remark. Again, it's a way to remove accountability for their actions. It also serves to downplay your emotions and make you feel bad about calling out their behavior. They use this phrase to try to normalize cruel comments. Number 3, it's no big deal. This statement is another tactic manipulators often use to deny wrongdoing. Like the previous statement, this also tries to normalize cruelty and verbal violence by trivializing their abuse and minimizing your pain. It is also a blatant attempt to shrink responsibility on themselves and put it onto you, making you responsible for misunderstanding them. It's aimed at making you feel unseen and unimportant. Number 4, you're imagining things. This is another classic gaslighting phrase. It's perhaps the only phrase that comes directly from the film. The purpose is to discredit you and make you doubt your sanity. This is effective because it makes others side with your abuser and reinforces the statement. What makes it particularly nefarious is it's often sugar-coated with concern and worry. Your abuser may approach you and express concern while also dismissing your emotions. They may say, "I'm only telling you this because I'm worried about you," or something similar. When this is expressed as a concern, it makes it harder to see the manipulation. And number 5, I'm sorry that you think that I hurt you. A common tactic that an abuser might use is shifting blame. This statement is an apt example. The phrasing of this is clever because it makes you think the abuser is apologizing. In reality, they're placing the blame on you. They're also making you feel like you misinterpreted them or judged them unfairly, and like you are the cause of the bad behavior or bad relationship. As a result, your self-esteem suffers, making you more dependent on them. Abuse, verbal or otherwise, should never have a place in your relationship. If you see it or experience it, call it out. Let the other person know that it's not right. If you are struggling with abuse, please reach out to a licensed medical professional for help. Have you experienced gaslighting?
Okay. The last part there, I can't recommend that because most of the professionals out there are pretty crazy. The ones, I'm not sure of the ones who work in the corporate HR places. They might be the craziest, but I don't know. There are a lot of them. It's really difficult to find a competent psychologist, psychiatrist, any of these helping, because a lot of them are very abusive, and they're in there because it does give them access to vulnerable people, as you know, just like pedophiles and children who take advantage, excuse me, people who take advantage of children. You know, they're going to seek access to them. This is why, I mean, the domestic violence industry, the human rights industry. Ethel Kennedy is one of the examples of a terribly abusive person, and hides behind her abuse by, you know, having this nonprofit, this charity that is supposed to be helping all of these people. But in fact, I mean, Kerry Kennedy is just a propaganda for the LGBT people right now. I mean, Kerry has gone totally woke. RF Kennedy, human rights, completely woke. I want them shut down, excuse me. All of this money for you guys to party. I mean, I can barely keep a roof over my head. I've been worried sick about my kids. I mean, all I live for is just to be reunited with my sons. And I can't even get a roof, keep a roof over my head, barely in my own country. Why? Because I represent white privilege, and I'm you know, standing up to all of you crazy wacko people in Washington. Just hope my sons can forgive me. God, so angry. Oh, yeah, here it goes. This I love. Nicole on philanthropy, motherhood, and autism.
Most of the philanthropists I work with are women, other mothers. And initially, it was a mother who's here today who reached out to inspire support in this campaign. I got into it through my own journey of reproductive health, followed by a steep learning curve for caring for my daughter, who has an autism diagnosis. In that journey, I discovered that women's fertility is in precipitous decline around the world. We are facing a crisis in reproductive health that is embedded in the larger epidemic of chronic disease. I have met mothers protecting their children who are searching every possible avenue for their health. And yet the Republican Party, like the Democratic, is letting them down because the actions of the party are diverting from the values that actually support individual freedom. Most American moms and dads already know the truth of the matter. and it's just long overdue that the duty of care owed to the American family is actually given. It wasn't until I met Bobby and the people supporting him that I felt any hope in the outcome of this election. I never thought in a million years I would be up here running for vice president.
I'd like to know how much money she donated to Bobby Kennedy's campaign, because I mean, she bought. I hope at least she bought her seat as a VP candidate, because if she didn't, like, what was going through your head, Bobby? Oh my God. When I saw her, I was like, no, that had to have been Amaryllis Fox that picked her. I mean, it was just, and so this whole thing. So finding Lena, this is the mother, well, the ex-wife of Tony Lyons. She is, I forget if she's Norwegian, but she's Northern European. This is another thing. I'm like, excuse me, Tony, your two children, I think there's another daughter. What's going to happen to them? Are they going to get deported from the United States? Because the way you guys are playing all of this, I mean, I've got a pending question to Tucker Carlson. He said that at the what is it, the Charlie Kirk speech, he said, yeah, people shouldn't have dual nationality. So what's going to happen to all of these, dual nationals, children, dual national marriages? Where's that going? Because she worked or something like that.
I wrote Finding Lena for two reasons. The first reason was that when this whole thing happened, when Lena at 3.5 had her first seizure, it was very hard to even believe what was happening. It was very hard to integrate the experience. And to me, writing helps me understand things, sort things out, organize myself, and come to some kind of acceptance of what it is that's happening. So that was I would say.
See, this was something, there's just so many questions with these cases of autism, because you have a whole industry, as Nicole Shanahan had said, yeah, her daughter was diagnosed with autism. Well, this is another issue. Do we have an epidemic of diagnosis as well? Just in any child that is having a fit, we're going to say, oh, they're autistic. Well, no, maybe there's a problem in the home, and with either of the parent. There's just it's I know for a fact, because I've been working on this for 20 years. In fact, Health and Human Services, the people who work in that department are terrified of us moms, us real moms. I'm not talking about this little so-and-so. They're terrified of us. I'm like, Bobby, give me a job as your assistant, and first thing we're going to do is get rid of the head of HR, and start filling positions with people who actually want to work and are not on some political agenda. I mean, it boggles the mind how infected all of the different agencies in Washington is. Everybody who works in Washington is woke. I mean, I've been ostracized and bullied and targeted in hate crimes. Oh, this is what I had wanted to bring up earlier with Bobby's campaign. Where was that? Morgan and Morgan. No, that wasn't it. I know I had the video there. Here it is. Wilcox.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's. Why is that freezing? Ah, it's freezing. Great. Okay, well, that's freezing. So that's not working. So anyway, it was a conversation that I had taped with
Okay, and I'm
it's a series of this has actually been going on for a long time. In the document that I sent to you all, the timeline. Now there are, because I know you all are with the statute of limitations. We've got some cases of the past year. Let's see, I think I'm on my 5th case for this
if
year.
you'd like, then let me, sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. If you sent us an info online with this case, then first of all, can I have your cell phone number just to search for it here online?
Sure, it's 202. And so I just, copy pasted the link because it is, I'm looking at it now, it's a 12-page report. And I go into the timeline. As I say, there are cases that date back 15 years. And that's, I have 2 cases. It's against the IMF Family Association and the IMF. Now, I know everybody, well, statute of limitations, so let's jump forward on that one. I can argue that this statute of limitations don't apply with any of the cases that I have pending for the past 15 years. If you go into my activism website and everything that I've been doing, they can see that. However, if you want to just talk about the cases this past year, which actually get into also political persecution, because I've been back in DC working on, good governance, court reform, political issues, and I have been targeted by employers and by coworkers in reprisal for my activism work. This past year, it's been for Bobby Kennedy.
I see. If you'd like, then, ma'am, we can definitely start the consultation. There
Right,
will
okay.
be asking you related questions for this case.
Okay,
So
go
we
ahead.
can definitely start with the most recent events of the past year.
Yeah.
But the questions I will be making you, you're going to notice there's just a few things I do need to ask you, ma'am.
Sure.
On the initial consultation.
Okay, so we'll go into all of that. But yeah, I mean, I film these things, I document them, but after I didn't even realize it. Morgan and Morgan, this is a law firm that Bobby Kennedy had been a partner of. I'm like, my Lord. And they're like, no, not interested. I'm like, wait a second. Bobby Kennedy is complaining because he has to pay for his own security. I get fired from a job in Washington, and Bobby Kennedy's partners, I get fired from a job in Washington for supporting Bobby Kennedy, and Bobby Kennedy's ex-partners won't defend me. I mean, I was blown away. I was like, deep state or just a bunch of idiots who nobody knows what the right hand is doing, what the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing and doesn't know what the head is doing and the feet are doing, or, I think more of that, the lack of leadership and just anarchy and chaos. So many people have been coming here give me a job, produce more and more and more and more jobs, coaching, can't do the job. Oh, we'll give them a coach. It literally is crazy. Um, so, I was like, excuse me? All I'm writing blogs for this guy. I've offered to work on his campaign in a job and, give all I've got. I've offered to write a book for this guy's campaign. And each time it's like, screw yourself, screw yourself, screw yourself. I didn't get fired. And he's complaining. He does. And when I get fired, the kid next door in the room next door, it's the same apartment. I mean, okay, I do have a lock on my bedroom door, thank God, in this place. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, he's throwing things all over the place. The cops are coming. He's screaming and yelling. He's got a gun. He's going to kill us all. And I'm having to put up with this. And he's telling me, see, you're a piece of shit. Look, you even get fired. You don't even have a job. Look at where you're living. Well, thank God. I'm just happy that I'm not living out on the streets because I represent white privilege and I've been canceled. And Bobby Kennedy is complaining because he has to pay for his own security. I mean, either these people are psychopaths or they don't know what the frick they're doing. So, yeah. So the thing is with the Mellons, see, they spend, so let's see, for the Mellon Foundation. Now, this produces all sorts of woke, you know, policies, practices, programs. All you have to do is go on to the Mellon Foundation and start clicking all of the foundations, all of them, all of the nonprofits. You go in there and you see, and you're like, oh my Lord, it's all woke bullshit. And so expenses, $654 million a year. Now, the head of that, he gets 3 million. This has changed. But the names have changed, but I'm sure the compensation levels haven't. So, 3 million there, 1.5 million, another 1.5, another 1.5, another million, almost another million. Here we got for the top management, and then we get lower levels, to produce all of this woke stuff that Tim Mellon is getting upset about and giving money 70, well, he's given 300 million. Mellon alone has given 300 million in the past 30 years to the Republicans. There's just one exception, and I love that one. There's a couple 100,000, no, not even 100,000. It was tens of thousands, 25,000, I think, or something like that, to AOC before she got into Congress. He sent her a donation, and apparently she didn't want to cash the check. See, I mean, I'm like, somebody get everybody in court. You guys want to keep on throwing money all over the place. Give it to me. Give it to me. Stop throwing it at the elections. The 300 billion, lots of things we can do with that. The 8 billion, see their assets, $8.03 billion for the Mellon Foundation alone. Man, we start investing this stuff in things that this country needs. So Trump keeps on saying we're going to bring back manufacturing jobs. Now, it's not just quantity, it's also quality. What are we, producing? This is my whole big thing with the Mars family. Stop producing candy. stop producing all of these drugs with the pharmaceutical company. I mean, get this country back healthy, and get rid of all of these companies that are just parasites off of an unhealthy society like the Morris sisters. I mean, I love it. In order to ease their conscience, they give 22 million to Foxcroft's woke STEM wing. I mean, it boggles the mind how much money is being wasted by all of these people, and nobody will do anything about it. Give me a freaking lawyer who knows something about what they're doing and not going to screw up the case. Get them all into court, drain them of their money. You want to throw it around like no tomorrow? Give it to me. I'll do something useful with it. It just boggles the mind. Boggles the mind. This I love. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, bless his heart. He's going to remove artificial dyes from food and drink by the end of next year in order to address the problems, the healthcare problems in this country. I mean, just incredible, incredible. Okay, so we get to the end. This brings us, again, to the Mellons, the Kennedy. I mean, here. Bobby should.
This guy saw the future and won millions of dollars in just one day. This is Joseph Kennedy, the father of President John F. Kennedy, also known as the guy that predicted the 1929 stock market crash. Now, you may think he used a spell or dark forces, but the reality is actually more simple than you think. One day in 1929, Kennedy stopped to get a shoe shine. While he was waiting, the shoe shine boy started giving him stock tips, and immediately after that, he sold all his stocks. As he, the genius himself, said, when shoe shine boys are giving stock tips, the market is too popular for its own good. And he was right.
And we are back to 100 years ago, literally. And in the United States, as much as in Europe. And this is Marianne Seigart. She's from Cobham Hall. See, we got Foxcroft over here, and we got Cobham Hall over there. And their ancestors were producing the same shit that they're producing today. History keeps on repeating itself. When is anybody going to learn? And, I keep on saying Marianne Seigart. She's the author of The Authority Gap, Why Women Aren't Taken Seriously and What We Can Do About It. Yeah, well, start behaving seriously instead of canceling me and telling me to shut up, because Skyhorse Publishing, nor Curtis Brown Publishing, nor anybody else has balls to publish my book. It's not that I can't write a book. I'll write a book that'll blow you away, little girl. I can't find a publisher. Whereas you guys keep on publishing all sorts of books. My favorite in this town, and this is somebody who is just as problematic and should be as ashamed of herself as Ethel Kennedy, as Carrie Kennedy, is Leslie Morgan Steiner. And Carol Joint is another one that's in there, and she'll be coming up in later presentations. So again, all you little ladies, Melania, and all of you little sugar babies, and Megyn Kelly, you should be ashamed of yourself, ashamed of yourselves. And men, this is what happens when you hire whores and you surround yourselves with nothing but whores. because that is the situation that we have. And this explains how, when you do that, the whoring and pimping culture tends to trickle up. So, I mean, I'm fit to be tied with all. I'm kind of like, you know what? I hope that the National Guard keeps out on the street. And I hope they keep on stopping all of these kids. Maybe if they stop enough people and they start, pulling all of these kids and just get rid of them. First, it'll open up the job market for hardworking women like me, maybe be able to find a job. And also, maybe Washingtonians start getting afraid. Well, maybe it'll happen to me. And so they'll stop playing party politics in their jobs and start doing it with a minimum of integrity. I don't know, somebody has got to, scare these people, because I am sick and tired of being told, well, I don't care who's in office. It doesn't matter, we just keep it up. We just keep it up. Go and screw yourself. Go and screw yourself. I'm untouchable. I'm a civil servant. You can't do anything to me. So that's the end of it today. I don't know. When I saw all of these National Guards people in the streets, reminds me of Berlin. Okay, I wasn't in Berlin in the rise to power of Hitler, but it does remind me of, the movie Cabaret, where by the end of it, at the beginning, you start seeing the military people in the cabaret, and by the end, it's filled with them. And that's where it looks like we're headed. C'est la vie. C'est la vie.